what I'm putting on my screen.
Yeah, I could see you in full view, except you look like you're in a theater right now. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today
Yeah.
is a good one of my best friend in the industry. Uh, we have a lot of history together, long history, and I've been wanting to invite him in this podcast, but our time in Australia and United States, it's just so big of a gap. So right now it is 5:52 p.m. What is time now in there, Tony?
Right now here, buddy, it's going to be 12 in the afternoon, so midday.
But anyways, welcome Tony Lara. Tony Lara is,
Thank you, Rodney.
in my opinion, is the godfather of bachata in Europe. Period. He is the one who started teaching bachata, even when he was in the West Coast, and at that time, ladies and gentlemen, salsa congresses were popular, but either Tony was performing or DJing. When he DJs, he plays bachata. He was one of the very first one. But anyway, Tony, how are you?
Yeah, awesome. We're here in Australia. We're really happy because our restrictions are being lifted now, and we're ready to party. And I have an event called Bachata Central, which is going to be in 2 weeks in Sydney, and that's 5 nights of bachata, 100% bachata. So we have no
Now,
other
my
kind of
question
style.
is that in itself in the center of Sydney or just around Sydney?
It's actually at the airport of Sydney. So
Okay.
as soon as you step off the plane, straight into the venue
Oh, that's
and party.
convenient. Yeah, that's very
Yes, it's
convenient,
convenient. Yeah, very convenient.
especially for the international attendees, right?
Yeah. Well, we in Australia don't have so many internationals. We do get an amazing group from Singapore,
Oh,
um,
yeah,
which which comes with a wonderful couple called Nick and Vivian, which
yeah.
we love here in Australia. But in general, it's just interstate. I mean, Australia is like a continent on its own, so each
Yeah, I
state can
mean,
be
Asia
classified as a
is
country.
is Asia is a neighboring country, so a lot of Asians, dancers from Asia goes to Australia for festivals,
Yeah,
even from the
actually,
beginning.
you're right. We do get some people from Noumea as well, so they're
Yeah.
not Australia, and obviously New Zealand as well.
How is that going? Is this the first year or the second year or what?
This is our fifth year.
Oh, wow.
We normally sell out the event, but obviously with the situation around the world with COVID, it's been a tough year. But
Yeah.
yeah, we've been lifted restrictions in Sydney, so in 2 weeks' time we're going to kick off, and we've been lucky that we've been able to run the event all
Yeah.
or every year,
Are you guys
even with
still
COVID.
wearing masks, though? Are you guys what is still wearing masks? Yeah.
They're going to be lifted on the 27th. No more masks.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping that Hawaii will lift it up pretty soon because now, even here in Nevada, Tony, no more mask, and some other states in the United States. So it seems like the Omicron is going down. Hospitals are down also. So it's a good sign that
Yeah,
we could be back into the normalcy. And this
yeah,
is why I'm
hopefully.
excited. Ladies and gentlemen, I gave up Vegas a long time ago when I closed down my thing, and one day Tony just messaged me like, Tony, I mean Rodney, let's do Vegas. So you don't understand, ladies and gentlemen. Tony's favorite place is Las Vegas. I know this for a fact because when we were driving from San Francisco to Las Vegas, now mind you, that's like 12, 13 hours. The dude never stopped talking in the car, and when he finally saw that view, when you're driving towards Las Vegas, he got excited like a kid, and he has been there probably 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, with you, Rodney. Yeah, guys. One thing that I just think that Las Vegas for me is the entertainment capital of the world,
I agree.
and I think this year myself and Rodney decided let's do a 100% Bachata festival there. Let's bring, and it's going to be more about what the style that I have in organizing events, which is about bringing fun to the events and entertainment.
And I'm
Um,
excited about the Jack and Jill, Tony. Can you tell us more about this? Because we talked about this for years, but I never really implemented it.
Yeah, well, Rodney, got to give Rodney credit. He always said to me, Tony, Jack and Jill would be the way to go to get people level up their skills in social dancing. Because the great thing about Jack and Jill is that it's 100% based on social dancing, as well as having some showmanship, etc., etc. But if you can't lead or follow properly, and you're just doing signature moves or moves that you're good with your partner, you just won't win a Jack and Jill, because that's not going to work. So the great thing about the Jack and Jill, and what you had envisioned, Rodney, was, you know, it will make people's social dancing skills, whether it's following or leading, much better. And what we've been doing it now 5 years here at our event in Australia. And what we've noticed that every year the standard has gotten better, and people are just commenting on how, you know, because of the Jack and Jill, they're able to focus more. It creates a focus point for them, and they don't care if they win or lose. What they do care about is if they're doing well, they feel they're improving their skills. Because you know, there are chances that you might meet a partner in one of the rounds that you just don't gel with. So you have to learn that skill. If you don't gel with someone, how can you make it work still? You have to try and make it work. It's no different to the dance floor. So we've after doing this for a few years, we decided now to create a world championship, which we've been talking about, and it's going to be in a hope. It was going to be maybe in 2004, but we might be looking at 2005. And the reason for that is that we're building a website which will help people record their journey in Jack and Jill's, and give them point system. The website will help will give them discounts to events, and we'll have that side of it, but also help people connect with each other, and give everyone a focus of developing their skills in Jack and Jill, and then maybe taking on a big competition that we're going to host in different places. It's going to be like an Olympic style. I think you mentioned as well, Rodney, it was one of your ideas, never to host it in one place, but move it around, so everyone can at least don't have to travel to one place all the time. It gets different areas. So there's a lot happening. I can go on for hours on that, but maybe we're making.
Could you explain more about the? Could you explain more about the point system, because I believe this is significant from any other competition?
Yeah. So basically, we are going to have different levels. So there's going to be an entry point level, which is a novice, and that's someone who's never competed, only be doing dancing. It's really just to give them a little experience. So that entry level has no points. It's just experience, so people can gain experience. And then the first level, which 95% of people should be entering, would be the beginning of the journey, which we've copied some other competition levels, and it's going to be called the competitive level. So that's where everyone's going to start. So in that, I'll have to I might have to pull up the sheet, but we might have to talk about this more depth another time, Rodney. But basically, you'll get points, and the competitions will be also, the point system is based on the size of the competition. So if you've got lots of competitors and you're winning a big one, you're obviously going to gain more points than if you're only up against 2 or 3 competitors. So depending on size, we're weighing out everything with size of competition versus points. I think when you hit something like 10 or 12 points, which should be in the range of 2 to 3 competitions, if you're really good. If you're a really good competitor, we don't want you to sit in there too long. So we reckon within 2 competitions, you'll jump up to the next level, which is the Rising Stars. And then the Rising Stars, obviously, that's going to be a nice level. You'll get a lot more competitors who have been dancing for a while. And again, that point system kicks off from 0. If you do well, again, I think there's like 15 points to collect there. Depending on size of competition will depend on how much points you get per competition. So the bigger the competition, the more points you'll gain. And if you gain that 15 points, you jump up to the next level, which is really the premier level for most people. It's going to be the star level, and that should be the creme of the creme.
So here, if I was, let's say I was a competitor, and let's say I was on the Rising Star, and so for me to begin,
will be, Rodney.
to begin competing and all of that, stuff, what do you think would be the main goal for me as a rising star? What's my goal in that competition? What's the end game?
Right. So we've broken it down to a couple of things because there's going to be obviously you're going to have a few rounds.
Sure.
So the first round we're actually going to dedicate to just doing good fundamentals. So no fancy stuff. No, we don't want to see how fancy you are. We don't want to see any of that. The first round, just fundamentals. How you shift your weight, your frame, your what's it called? Your connection skills.
Connection, yeah.
Also showmanship.
Leadability, followability, yeah.
Yeah, grounding, balance. We're
Yeah.
looking for fundamental things that because one thing about when we talk, I see a lot of posts like, oh, work on your fundamentals, work on your basic. But for someone who's coming into dancing, what does that actually mean? Like,
Right.
what are you working on? So, because a fundamental means a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
How you step, how you change your weight, how your balance, how your frame is, how you're directing your body, your head. There's so much stuff that
Yeah.
goes into having good fundamentals. So we're going to break all that down. So people, once we finalize our website, we're going to have videos from people like you. We're going to ask you to get involved all over the world, different ideas to give students different tips on how to develop their skill. So let's just say the first round will be fundamentals, and then the next rounds is geared to your creativity, like how and depending on the song, because if you're throwing a Dominican song and you start doing just sensual moves, that's not going to help you. We're going to look at you and say,
right.
you're not adapted to the music. So everything's random. So there's going to be Dominican songs in there, old school and new school. There's going to be romanticas, sensual. Everything that's happening in the bachata world today is going to be part of the competition. So we want people to be open-minded. If someone has just developed one style, they might struggle in these type of competition because they're not geared to one style. They're geared to people developing their skills. So the end game of the Jack and Jill or the Rising Star is to have good fundamentals, also have knowledge of whether it's a Dominican feel or these sensual feels, romantic feels, because all these musics have different feels. And we can argue all day, bachata is bachata, but there are now different variations that we need to start considering.
Indeed. I'm excited about that. I know we'll do that in Las Vegas, megabachatafest.com. We'll do that. I know you're doing it in Australia already. You're thinking of any other cities?
We're gonna pump this out all around the world. I was gonna pump it out last year, but with the COVID situation, I just felt it's not appropriate to try and push this. But we're just finalizing the website, and I think within the next 2 months, it's going to be pumped out. So Las Vegas is going to be one of the national championships in America. We're going to obviously speak to other people in America. So if you are from anywhere in America, but you can't come to the Las Vegas Festival for whatever reason, there will be other competitions being held around America that will help gear you towards your journey to World Championship. Or if you don't want to go to the World Championship, you can just a journey of helping yourself, focusing on developing your skills, because Jack and Jill's a great balancer for that.
And Tony, let's clarify this. This is not an audience participation judging. You're gonna hire some serious judges, right?
Yeah, for the World Championship, we really want to make this professional. There's a way that we've gone about it that will give funding for that, because I feel that the competitions we've been doing has been very disjointed, and the funding is not really there. So but this is going to be properly funded. We're going to, as time goes by, we're going to have panels of international judges, which we will look after properly and do everything as it should be done. So it's a really big project. I will reveal everything once we're done. I think me and you, Rodney, we can jump on and we can explain to people how it works, how we're going to get funded from either sponsorship or how the website works to help all these things be funded. So yeah, so
ladies and gentlemen, like I said, like I said, I've given up Vegas, but Tony just inspired me to do it again with him. I've always respected Tony as a teacher, but I respect him even more when it comes to a performance, when it comes to performing, when it comes to creating a choreography. This guy, one time I had him choreograph the intro of my team's choreography, and he did it in 10 minutes. And he was good, And this is why when it says Vegas, I'm thinking Tony is Vegas because he has this entertainment mind. So aside from the Jack and Jill, Tony, what in the world is your vision for Las Vegas?
Well, for me, one thing that we did in Sydney with my partner Mitch was we wanted to not change the scene, but just reinvent a few things about the scene. And
Yeah,
one of them was bring back social dancing, lots of social dancing, minimize showcases. So we don't want big showcases, which
right.
we just feel that it kind of tires people out. And the showcases that we do want is we want to encourage schools and team to bring entertainment to the
Sure,
showcases.
sure. Yeah,
There's a lot of if you have a team and you want them to perform, there's lots of local places that you can get them to perform. But I believe that when you go onto a stage and you have an audience that's sitting there for an hour or two, they really need to be entertained.
I agree. Yeah.
And the MCs can do it. I've always tried as an MC to entertain,
Oh,
but the MC can only
you're a great MC. Yeah.
I try and entertain as much as possible, but there is also getting showcases to
Yeah.
go down that mindset. So we've minimized showcases and we just brought on more of social dances, concept classes rather than just teaching a term pattern, just specifying things on concepts.
Yeah.
So it could be, something, let's just say, Dominican, how to develop the box step and how to create variations on the box
Sure.
step.
Yeah.
How to do the box step fundamentally well, and then what can you do once it's fundamentally well? How can you be creative with it? So a lot of concept classes. And then the other thing we pull around that is things like pool party, especially I think Vegas is
Yeah.
the perfect
Yeah.
place to host a pool party and really have a fun time there. And like I said, but all the people coming to these events, they have a great time. They go home happy, smiling, knackered, and happy.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of festivals around the world, like yourself, Rodney, and sometimes I just went home tired. I was kind of happy, but I was more tired, and it was tiring because just the flow of everything just kind of ties you around. Like, you do your workshop, then you go and do these showcases. They can be for 2-3 hours long. And then by the time you go to social dance, you're already tired. Then it's late. The social dancing tired and it's late. Then the whole pattern goes where for us, it's like entertain, keep people happy. Because I believe if you're happy and you're having a great time, tiredness just doesn't exist.
Absolutely. Yeah,
It
and in this
exists,
case,
it
our
exists
Las Vegas event.
under the shadow of you're happy, so you'll sleep well and
Yeah.
etc. etc. So that's what we're
In
bringing
this
to
case, our Las
Vegas.
Vegas event is 4 days. Not too many people know that. They think it's just a weekend. It's freaking 4 days because of the
4
competition and
days.
all that. So,
That's right. And we're going to organize a pool party, right? The pre-party is going to be the pool
absolutely.
party.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring groups from Europe and Australia for a
Awesome.
week. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll do like some excursion. I'll take them around.
I think it's
And
going to make
also,
it. Yeah. Because you guys
if
are
you go
like
to,
3 hours, 4 hours drive to Arizona. Is that it, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
who's that?
Arizona is when you went to Las Vegas and you rode a motorcycle.
Oh yeah.
What was that? Where did you go, man?
I went to the Grand Canyon.
That's in
There was like,
Arizona. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
went to see that. What was it called? That skyline thing that had like a bridge or like a platform that you went onto and you can see the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, there's a name for it. It's in the tip of
Yeah,
my
I've
tongue. I
forgotten it now,
forgot.
and I went there. That was funny because I rode the motorbike there, and it
Yeah,
was like this empty road, just me. I
empty road.
stopped
Yeah.
to take pictures, and the bike fell on the ground, and it was a heavy Indian bike, and I couldn't pick it up because it was like sand, and I just couldn't pick it up on my own, and I was like panicking. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna be all night here." I stood on the road, and for about 40 minutes, no cars came by.
Holy shit! Yeah.
A car came and I flagged it down. I went, guys, please, can you help me pick the bike up? It's fallen. I can't get it up. Because normally I can pick up a bike, but because it was kind of sand, the bike kept sinking. So I
It was
couldn't
like
get
sinking. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. Luckily, these three guys jumped out, and
Yeah.
they,
There. Yeah.
one guy, I was scared because they were big, like
They didn't
guys who
rob you or
like,
anything.
yeah, they looked like they were from a gang. They were
Yeah.
tattooed. They had headbands on, everything, and I was like, "Oh my god, I might get killed here by these guys."
Especially
So,
you're English. You're English. Like this guy's
yeah,
Australian or English.
I thought, I mean, I shouldn't, you shouldn't ever judge people like that. But there was a little thing inside me
Yeah.
thinking, oh, these guys don't like now trouble me. And they were, to be fair to them, they were super nice. They helped me pick the guy bike up. They were like, wow, like, hey, dude, they made me feel good. So,
Yeah.
but that was a scary experience.
Now, let me ask you.
Expecting.
Let me ask you a subject that is trending in the social media, as you know, because you also posted and posting your own and in your timeline and all of that. It's about this central movement and the modern movement as to the roots of it, and there's so many misunderstanding about it and how it came from. I figured you're the right person to ask because from the get-go, you were the first one. So, what were your
Yeah.
influences? How did you become introduced to bachata, and how is it that you created your own style? And now people had been actually doing some of the movements that you taught in the back in the day.
Yeah. All right. So I think what a lot of people, especially these new generation, who want to argue about this stuff, they have to go back. They have to understand that when we were in the early 2000s, 1998,
Yeah,
2000,
yeah,
there was a large movement for salsa in festivals. So around 1998, but don't quote me, that I'm just saying around that time, the salsa festivals or congresses were starting to make a massive impact around the world.
right.
So what started happening in salsa, because salsa has different styles of salsa. So
Sure.
you have Cuban salsa, Colombian salsa, New York style, and then like these styles started more and more started developing. And what started happening were for teachers to explain where the influences of their salsa was, they were creating names. So you had LA style, the
LA
Vasquez
style, yeah.
brothers, but LA style. Then the New York style on two became very prominent. So we were getting used to having salsa subdivided into different styles.
Correct. Correct.
And it gave us an understanding of different movements, because each style will have their own different leading skills, following
Yeah.
skills, body movements, etc., etc. So it was a time where these things were happening. And the music, salsa music, also had different influences.
Sure.
They're not all from one place. So you do have Cuban timba. The LA style was they were calling it mambo. Not LA, sorry, New York had more of a mambo feel.
They call it
And
New Yorican music. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So there was all these different genres being created under the umbrella name of salsa. So when I went to a bachata class in 1998, and it was a Dominican guy,
Yeah.
and he was teaching us. But I think at that time, and this is something people should understand, is that the Dominican style of bachata, there wasn't really a teaching structure,
Not at all.
because no one was teaching it in Dominican
I
Republic.
agree.
It was
Yeah.
just a social dance that people learned through their generations.
Yeah.
And from and again, I'm not an expert on Dominican bachata, but I've done lots of conversations for many years now with Dominicans. And what they explained to me was that even in each town, there was a different style of the
Correct.
bachata
Correct.
being danced, because
Yeah.
there wasn't social media, there wasn't people filming each other. They were just learning in their own little sectors of where they were. They
Sure.
weren't traveling
Sure.
around so much. So when Aventura came up with Obsession, that was a massive hit, and we loved it. And I didn't again, when like I said, I did a bachata class, but because the teacher was Dominican, we had to kind of follow it. And it was very hard to follow him because we were used to salsa
Yeah.
and teaching breaking things down. And his class was more just follow me, you know, I'm doing this, follow me. And he didn't
Sure.
really know how to explain, break down, like shift your weight and step like this and do that. So it was a very hard class for you to actually learn dancing from. You just got an idea of it. So then the next influence, I was in Holland and a couple came out and they were doing side to side, really big hip movements.
Yeah.
And I said to my friend Ivan, what's that? And he goes, that's bachata. That's how we do bachata. So I learned that, and that was easier to learn. But the hip movement was really heavy, and people were calling it the hiccup dance at that point.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
So Aventura comes up with Obsession.
Right.
And I had a school in Italy and they loved bachata, but their bachata was like a kizomba. It was like at the end of the night, you grab your partner and you just did this really close side to side, little swaying with each other. And it was mainly done with your partner. And obviously when I had a school, I was like, well, how can I teach this to all my students to dance with each other? So that's when because I didn't have a great understanding, and nor could I find a great understanding of real bachata, Dominican, we started creating our own. And the influences, a lot of it came from salsa and reggaeton, because we were doing body rolls and stuff in reggaeton. Right. If you look at my old stuff, you'll find these influences were there. Yeah. So we started creating this. I was dancing, creating this a new style within my school. And what happened was, a friend of mine, Paul Young, who was doing the Salsa Congress in the UK, he basically came to visit me one day and saw me dancing to Aventura, this dance. And he goes, what are you doing? And I said, I just create a mix. We're dancing bachata, but we created, because he said, I've seen bachata, but that's not quite bachata. I said, just something we're doing at our school. So he invited me to teach this in the massive congress in the London, which was around 2,000 people. So I was like, okay. And I had already developed some fundamentals on how to lead things because of my salsa experience.
Of course.
So I didn't want to call it Dominican style. So what we did is, because, like I said, what was happening in salsa, they were naming things from cities.
Right.
I called it Italian style.
Right, I remember that.
Italian style. That's right. Yeah. So, and my videos came out, and they were Italian style videos.
That was one of the first videos, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was the first Bachata video DVD teaching series out there. And so we called it Italian style. And then from there, things started moving forward. I met a guy called Iñaki, who they were doing something in Madrid that was different.
Iñaki Fernandez,
that's right.
Yeah.
And he was doing something in Madrid that was different. And then me and Frank Santos became good friends, and he was doing movements. So we started evolving that way. And then afterwards, I met yourself, George Elizondo. Then there was Nestor and Juan in Australia. Yeah. And I guess that movement started moving that way. And we were trying to think of festivals.
And we were the only ones, those group that you mentioned, we were the only ones at that time going all over the place, spreading our own interpretation of bachata.
That's right. And I was going to salsa festivals, begging them, can I teach a bachata class?
Yeah.
And having to pay my way and do a lot of crap. And then what was funny, and I got a few funny stories, that at the parties, no one played bachata. It was pure salsa, but I was DJing at the time.
Right.
So what I would do is I would play bachata in the Salsa Congress. And I remember LA was the funniest. LA, there was like 5,000 people dancing. And I threw a bachata song on, and I felt like Moses of bachata, because the whole dance floor just spread apart.
Right.
And all these people looked up at me and they were like, what are you doing? Swearing at me. And anyway, I threw a salsa on, everyone dancing. But an hour later, I was going to finish. I go to the DJ, I'm going to play bachata. The DJ ran out of the box. Put bachata on. Again, the floor emptied up, a few stragglers jumped on. And then that's when people came and they were like wanting to fight me. They were like, hey, you puto motherfucker, we paid money to come and dance salsa, not this shit. And I was like, and I got on the mic, and Albert Torres comes, and he was like, hey, Tony, I've got a bit of an Albert Torres impression. Hey, Tony, I know you love bachata, but this is Salsa Congress, right? And I was like, oh, sorry, Albert, I just have to play bachata. And I got on the mic. Albert gave me the mic, and I was like, hey, everyone, I know you're wondering why I play bachata, but one day bachata is going to be really big. And they were like, fuck off. So yeah, I was lucky to be in salsa festivals, and I was pushing bachata music, getting a lot of hate. So when people are hating on me on social media, it means nothing to me. My skin is thick now. So, and they got to understand that now we're blessed that we have it all over the world. But there was a time where it was very hard to put a bachata song without people hating on you, So this new generation, you need to know these histories before you start going crazy. And the Central Bachata movement, which started at my event, as you know, with the section
Central was one of the very first festival in Europe.
Yeah, and we were at that time we were mixing bachata with zouk and kizomba. Kizomba started coming up. So I was the first one to do an SBK event, because we had salsa, zouk, kizomba. No one had done this before.
And you were one of the few who opened it until 6 a.m.
That's and beyond. And a gentleman called Corky, who was Corky and Judith, contacted me. Yeah, he contacted me, and he said he introduced himself to me, and I invited him over to London, and we did this class of his style of teaching. And at the time, obviously this was he was very the movements that he was doing was very controlled body movement, head movements. And a lot of people at first, obviously, it was very difficult for them to develop this style. But give credit to Corky. He I think it was around 2009. He pushed it outside of his Cadiz into the world. I helped him a lot get to festivals, and at the time he was calling it bachata as well. And I was doing labels at my event, as you know.
Sure.
And I named his class. I said, why don't we call it Bachata Central? Because it's very sensual, etc., etc. So he adopted that name, and he gives credit to that all the time. He said, I came up with this name because I knew that you couldn't only call things bachata anymore, because there was an original style that was bachata.
Not when all of these Dominicans learned that you can actually, well, I'm not gonna say that you can actually teach it and make money from it. And so there's so many, not only Dominicans rise up, but some people that dances that type of thing where they were born with started popping out. And it's like, for example, Troy and Georgette, if it's not from that barbershop video, we will never know, in my opinion, at least for me, the differences.
That's right. That's right. And Troy and Georgette did a great job of actually educating us with that stuff. Because when I met Troy and Georgette, they told me, hey, what you're doing is not Dominican. And I said, yeah, totally, I know that.
Yeah.
I had no way of learning Dominican style.
Yeah.
I mean, I did. I could have flown there, I guess, and tried to learn it there. But the reality was that just wasn't at that time possible. And to be fair, the music was changing a lot as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. People have to understand that dancing and music have a relationship with each other.
Yeah.
So you can't be doing you can't be just saying, we're going to just dance one style to all types of music.
Yeah.
That's just not going to work anymore. It just doesn't feel right. The music has actually changed a lot. And because the music changes, you got to go with it. So going back to Corky, he was getting a lot of like boleros and stuff, which was a lot slower, a lot more sensual. And that's what he was using to develop his style. And like I said, it did take a while to kick off. I mean, Bachata Central, really, I saw it in 2009. I can't remember how long. I think he had been doing it since 2006. But internationally, from what I remember, it didn't really kick off to around.
Yeah, we never really heard of it. Yeah.
All I know is that the moment,
to be honest with you, the moment I saw it, it's like, what the fuck is that? Is that zouk?
Yeah, exactly. And it probably was influenced from zouk. I've never really had a conversation with Corky to 100% his influences, but because we were being influenced by lots of dancing, there obviously were a lot of influences, even if it was subconsciously. We've been influenced constantly. I know that my influences were salsa, reggaeton, zouk as well. And then once I started seeing more Dominican stuff, then I started influencing myself with Dominican stuff. I wouldn't say I'm a strong Dominican dancer, but I know I know
You know how to dance it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I know if I have to pull it out, I can do a nice fundamental
Sure.
Dominican dance, not fancy. I won't
Yeah.
be fancy like some of
Well,
the
it's not supposed
guys
to be
do.
fancy anyway, so
Yeah, but
yeah.
some people are quick-footed, and that because the even the Dominican style changed as well. It
It's
became more
changed, of
about
course, of course.
quick.
Everything evolves. Yeah.
Yeah, so I put a post up not long ago about there's two different mindsets that have come out from dancing. One is the evolution. So the Dominican style obviously evolved from bolero and merengue and other influences that they had, and they evolved that way. Where because we didn't have the original influences, we evolved through a creation point of view because we were being influenced from salsa, zouk, and stuff that was more closer to us in Europe.
I agree. Yeah.
So that's why I mentioned that there's been a path of the evolution, bolero, merengue to bachata, and then
Yeah.
bachata con pasitos, because I think that's what they're calling it now. And then we had an evolution where we went from some sort of a side-to-side fundamental, and we started creating and using fusions. So
Yeah.
salsa, there was tango influences, which
Well,
never really
you
shot through
know,
because of the
I kind of
music.
believe Pierre when he simplifies it that way, that modern bachata, the sensual or whatever you call it, trapchata or whatever else, came from modern bachata because modern bachata's basic is very different from traditional bachata. Now,
Yes.
traditional bachata, Dominican bachata came from traditional bachata because now they do
Yeah.
all of this fancy footwork, blah blah blah. Uh, so when he simplified it like that, now I understand it more because whenever uh, Corke says that he went to the Dominican Republic, so his style is very much influenced by quote unquote Dominican bachata. It, no offense, I love Central, as you know. I hire people from Central art, but I cannot trace it. I cannot trace it from the traditional
No.
bachata. Yeah.
No, and that's why I on my poster I traced it more from the fusion bachata,
Right.
which
Right.
was because modern bachata is really a fusion bachata. It
Right.
has a
Right.
fundamental which was side to side, forward and backwards. Then we started developing because of tango. We went into a rock step, which you'll see this being used in Central Bachata Central.
Or even open break. They do open break now in
Open
that one.
break.
Yeah.
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 So a lot of this stuff actually came from fusion bachata. That's why for me, when I did Italian style, and then there was this Madrid style, which they were doing a lot of these crossover steps.
Yeah.
When these styles started moving forward, rather than trying to call it this, that, the other, they started fusing a bit more. We then changed it into modern bachata or bachata moderna. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what the name are, but the
Yeah.
reality is they're all fusion bachatas. They're not. They have no authentic roots. They're
Not
just
anymore, especially nowadays because it's all fusion. Even if you say Dominican style of bachata, it's also fused with something else, as you know.
yeah. Now
Yeah.
now they're doing the same, but like you said, you can trace them backwards and go, well, that comes from this exact root.
Right.
Where when you trace back what we're doing, it comes from a point of new creation.
Yeah.
So the basic was a watered down Dominican basic, which was side to side, which Dominicans, from what I heard, never did. They didn't do
They
one,
didn't
two,
they didn't
three.
do the traveling side to side. They only did
That's right.
their steps are very small. Yeah.
Yeah. So that traveling side to side was something that um, I'm not sure how we created.
I think you know where I saw that the very first time, that traveling side to side, is from ballroom competition in Italy, and they had a bachata ballroom
That's right.
competition. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? You're absolutely right. And I believe that it did actually start creating it from the
Yeah.
ballroom because the ballroom, obviously, they couldn't really figure out
Traveling.
what
A lot
bachata
of
was.
traveling. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that even that ballroom style comes from an Italian style. Don't quote me on this, but it sounds like bachata, but it's not bachata. It's just
Right.
some
Right.
folkloric Italian music, and it has
Right.
exactly the very similar bachata. The only difference I noticed was that it was played on an organ,
Yeah.
so they don't have to quinto
Yeah.
on that, but it's
Yeah. 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 Because at that time, when I was first introduced to bachata, at that time I was in ballroom, man. So I watched just even especially in Italy, where they have the Super Bowl of ballroom competition. You know, so that's where I saw it first. You know, so that's
Well,
where it
the
is.
idea, like that idea now, that Super Bowl competition, that's what we want to do with the Jack and Jill. We want to
Yes.
make it the Super Bowl of Jack and Jill. And it's not just about the competition, it's also about the education and
Yeah.
also making people happier that people are dancing like and people can do fusion style, can learn original
Yeah.
styles that evolve from each other. Rather than hate towards one style saying
No.
this
Yeah.
is a potato of a dance. So what? Like, if that makes you unhappy, then you shouldn't be done. You shouldn't be if you're unhappy or angry about a certain style of dancing. You should not be dancing bachata. You should just
Yeah.
go and do social dancing and live your life like that. Because seriously, I think people who want to be influencers should be like rather than these guys hating on the style. I keep saying to them, don't talk about the style you hate. Just promote what you love. You don't
What you
need
love. Yeah.
to talk about hate
Agree.
because love trumps hate. So just talk about stuff you love. Like you don't see me going around hating on any style of bachata
Yeah.
because I was when I was doing bachata, we were trying to get people to dance. There was a massive salsa world, and bachata was not welcome. Like if
Bachata was
I can
hated.
tell, if
Oh
I
yeah.
tell people, I one day will talk about my stories about how much bullying there was, like the bullying. Because,
You
but
and
I
me
mean, we're
both,
laughing
man.
at, we are laughing, but it was actually a serious thing. Like,
It was serious.
there
Yeah.
was one point where I know that the instructors, I won't bring them up, they were salsa instructors. I know they were thinking they were having fun, but in reality, they were bullying and they nearly broke my shoulder by accident. But I got really angry about it because I was like, you know what, guys, I understand the fun behind it, but it
Yeah.
got to that point where it could have been seriously
Yeah.
physically damaging. So,
Yeah.
but that's another story. That I've got lots of story where I
I mean,
traveled
to
around.
be honest with you, I was mad at first because of that mockery of things from salseros, especially. You know, I was always in front of salsa congresses sponsored by Albert Torres, and Albert Torres is always the MC. He used to make fun of bachata. I'm right there in the front. He used to make fun of bachata. He didn't think it was gonna come off, but I wasn't mad at him. I was just laughing because he didn't understand at that time. You
That's
know,
right.
and
Yeah.
of course later on in his life he understood that, and he welcomed it, and he invited instructors and whatnot, and now a lot of salseros has welcomed it and even teaches it, as you know.
Yeah. I mean, Albert Torres was a massive influence around the world. And one
Agree.
thing I knew was I needed to get someone like him on board because
Yeah.
um, these were the influences of those days, you know, and they were the sharks. He
Right.
had a lot of influence around the world and a lot of connections. So I remember when I think it was in no, I don't think I know. It was in 2006. I said to him, I'm going to teach bachata at your Salsa Congress.
Yeah.
And he put up a fight for a long time. He was like, man, you know, this is a Salsa Congress.
Yeah.
People are going to be upset and this and that. And I said to him, I don't care. I'm going to fly myself there. I'm going to perform and I'm going to teach.
Yeah.
And I want you to give me a class. And he unarmed, but I was persistent, called him up the next day, called him up until he gave in. And he went, all right, I'm going to give you one. But, you know, don't expect, like, you know, understand that it might not go well for you.
Yeah.
But to his surprise, I had an enormous class there. And I
Yeah.
was selling DVDs at that time. And I made something like 5,000 American dollars from just selling DVDs on that
Yeah.
one class. And I went back to him and I said, I think you're wrong, Albert. I think you better start understanding that people want this in their life and maybe start looking at introducing it into your festival. The way we're doing, because he saw all the work I was doing in Europe and I've been to Australia and Asia. So it was hard for him to ignore me after a while.
Well.
And that's why in 2006 he allowed it in his Salsa
Yeah.
Congress. And then
Yeah.
after that he started going. But it took a lot of phone calls and convincing. So you know, and this is the other thing that these new bachateros don't understand, the amount of pushbacks that we had, people saying no. And I had to literally, sometimes I turned up at festivals and I would just say, I will come, and I would just hound the promoter to get me there next year, or
Yeah.
or I would call up their city schools
Yeah.
and say, hey, can I teach bachata? And they were like, what's this? Don't worry about it. Let's do a boot camp. Let's do a boot camp. Let's get people into it.
Yeah.
I was doing tons of boot camp. And then it was great when George Elizondo jumped on the crusade,
Yeah.
the Bachata crusade. And he was then starting pushing Bachata workshops here, there. And then yourself came more on board. And that's when we were able to start doing festivals in Europe from 2000.
Tony and I first met. Well, Tony and I already conversed in social media.
That's right, yeah.
We've been friends on the social media then, but the first time I met him was at the Swedish Bachata Festival, I believe. And that was the first in Europe, to be honest, I guess. And then yours followed later? Yeah.
That's right. That was probably really the first in the world.
Technically, really the first in the world.
I'm gonna call out Juan and Nestor here, who I thought a year's promotion was good because obviously it was bachata and tough. It was tough to sell at that time. I said to my partners, hey, look, let's keep this small and simple, because remember the venue was great for something like that.
Yeah, I remember the venue.
Yeah. Simple. And then we brought you over to do it with us. We said, Rodney, come to Europe.
But it's funny, but when you guys called me, I was in Australia teaching bachata, the very first bachata festival already at that time, dude. When you guys called me, it's like, sure. And that was the next weekend, I think.
Yeah, no, you're getting your lines disconnected. When we called you, you went to the Bachata Festival before us, because Juan and Nestor, the little sneaky buggers, they decided that in January or February they're going to do one in April. And then I was like, yeah, and so that's what they did.
That was my second international festival invite, which I appreciate, Tony, because I gotten to know you. I met you in the flesh, and we hang out. That was a long weekend, man. We hang out. It was more than a weekend, I believe. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew the format of how Europe does festival. Because for me, my format in the United States is like Albert Torres format, as you know. And I got introduced to that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Albert Torres, that format influenced most festivals run under Torres format, where I was trying to do a different format, which was more about entertainment and people having a good time. And,
well, when you did your very first festival as your own, you did the Albert format also, but you did more than that. Yeah, you did the 6 a.m. dancing. You did the several rooms. And 6 a.m. dancing.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be that format. I did add some changes to it. Like, we were already trying to get people to be more about entertainment.
Yeah.
We were encouraging the instructors, do a great job in your classes, be professional, but at the same time, let's go out and entertain people. And you saw some of the madness we did on stage where we did.
I like the way you set up the performance, because this performance is very different from Tony's festival, and that is, there is a beginning and there is an end, and the flow of the performances on each performances connect, and at the very end they're all on the stage, and something like that. And hopefully he would do something like that in Las Vegas, because that's really Tony's signature. The way he organized performance. I
mean, for us, this first Las Vegas is just the first one to get started. But as we grow in Las Vegas, definitely going to bring some great time. And I'm really looking forward to working and talking to a lot of the instructors there in America, organizations and people there, and get the crowd, get everyone on board to like bringing entertainment and dancing back alive. Rather, there is a little bit of, I think, a change in the world where I just feel instructors are no longer trying to be about the entertainment. They're teaching their style and their classes, and whether they social dance a lot or they don't,
Yeah.
it's now become very questionable, and what energy they bring to the event as
Yeah.
an entertainment level. I know that I was proud of myself of going to events, doing my classes, making them educational or good for social dancing. And then at the socials, I either bring on a fun show for the showcase, or at the social, be out there dancing as much as possible.
Yeah.
That has changed a lot as bachata has become very popular, and people can now make good money from it.
Yeah.
There's become an elite type behavior, which I totally understand. They're getting paid a lot more money
Yeah.
than what we did, Rodney.
Right, right. I mean, so
um,
there is a trend again about teachers, new
mm,
teachers, and how they started. I know there's that big trend right now, even in the Bay Area. We're having a little issue with a person who just taught 4 months and then now he's teaching on all of that stuff. What's your criteria in this? That's number one question. And the second question, follow up with that is, what is your criteria in hiring someone at your festival for teaching? Because I know I came from humble beginnings and I got experience in teaching. You do as well. Before you started teaching, you had some solid background. So is Ilozano. So is other teachers. So number one question is, what do you think is the criteria to become a teacher, and what is your criteria in hiring someone for a festival?
um, Firstly, I guess at the moment in the way we work in Australia,
Yeah.
we look for artists that are at a high level of dance skills, and have are now moving around. So everyone that I normally invite, I've seen them live, I've watched them teach, I've listened to what comes out their mouth while they're
Right.
teaching.
Right.
So the internationals, 99% of them, I've either worked with them, or I've gone and watched classes where they're teaching and just listened to how they talk about people, and
Yeah.
how they talk to the people, and what information they're giving out. Because I believe if a teacher should know certain information of the technique, and
Right.
just showing the technique is not good anymore. They should know that if someone says, I can't do this, what's the reason behind it? They should be able to identify one of the fundamental reasons why they can't lead or follow the movement.
Correct.
So for the high level, definitely. With our nationals, we look at we give opportunities for people to, because there's two sides to an event. There's, you get in international professionals, and then your nationals, really you want to make them as your partners in
And then
to help
locals.
your
Yeah.
event.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, to help, to support the event and help the event grow, and at the same time they hopefully can get experience, exposure,
Yeah.
so that if they want a career in teaching international events, you're giving them a platform for them to learn from.
Correct.
um, and we have issues with those things as well, because your nationals sometimes want to be internationals, so they want to be invited as artists,
Right.
regardless, and with artists only, and not as partners who are actually supporting you via their
Got it.
school.
Yeah.
So we there's those two conflicts, and they're not always easy to resolve. I try and
Yeah.
talk to some people. Some people don't want to um, work like that, that's fine, and we just don't work with them. But so
Yeah.
we have those criteria. So our internationals, I basically get good information about us. I got lots of friends, promoters all over the world. I speak to them. I find videos. I look at them up, see what kind of teaching they're doing. I'm not interested in only in their dancing. Their dancing has to be of a good level. But I
Yeah.
also like to know if they can talk to the people in front of them, how they conduct themselves like that.
Can they actually instruct? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because some people are amazing dancers, doesn't make them great teachers,
True.
and some people are great teachers, doesn't make them good social people, dancers or
Absolutely.
social people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a real hard balance in finding the elements of great teachers, great dancers, and great social people. I think
And some
now,
of them, they might be popular in their city, but they're not popular internationally. For example, I'll give you an example, Tony. The very first time you invited Carlos Espinosa, And at
Yeah.
that time, it's like, I don't know who the hell, Carlos Espinosa, who is this guy? And then I watch him dance. And that dude has got charisma, not to mention killer moves. And I
Mm.
thought that someday this guy would be popular. I mean, look at Carlos Espinosa now. And he's
Yeah.
going to be in our Vegas event, by the way. First time in
Yeah.
USA, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've known him for a while, and he's got great energy, and he's out there. So he's one thing that I liked about him was that he'd be out on the dance floor
Oh,
dancing,
that's true.
social dancing with
I've
people.
witnessed that myself.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's becoming a source of now as an organizer, you have to think there's three different levels you got to think. Are they great dancers? Yes. Are they really good teachers?
Yeah.
And are they good at social? Some people are really good dancing. Their teaching is not that great. They don't know how to relate to people. I focus my teaching on not just the really good dancers in front of me, but that person in the back that can't get the move. I go up to them and see if I can help them out. That's one thing that can
Yeah.
most teachers should try and adopt. And then social dancing. Do they love social dancing?
Yeah.
And a lot of them actually don't. They like social dancing a little bit. You know, they come
Yeah.
out a little bit. They do their they do their show. You know, show up and. They could a lot of time they go over there to the bar or they're hanging around with other artists, drinking and having that. They want to have
Yeah.
that kind of good time.
As
So
promoters, we don't like that actually. Actually, Tony, what's your stand on instructor charging for social dancing?
I'm not interested in that. Like, to be honest, I don't. If they want to charge that,
Yeah.
I'm not interested. I won't invite them. Promoters can do what they want, but I think, as far as my concern, as a standard, if you're not going to come to the event and add value, then
Yeah.
stay at home. Then you shouldn't be an event dancer. There's all these different arguments of what an event dancer can be. But for
Yeah.
me, to be
Yeah.
honest, this is the standard that I think I hold up. If you're an event artist, you should be good at teaching. You should be good at dancing and performing, and you should be good at social dancing. If I give you a mic, you should be able to grab hold of that mic and entertain people in front
Yeah.
of you. It shouldn't be I give you a mic and you're like, I don't know what to say on microphone. Get learning what to say. These are skills that international artists should have. And if
Yeah.
they don't want to dance,
Yeah.
then I question why the hell they're coming to an international congress just to
Right.
make money and show that you've got certain dance skills. But there's lots of people now that got
Yeah.
those certain dance skills.
Now I gotta
I
ask you.
just think,
I gotta ask you a selfish question, and I'm
yeah,
selfish when it comes to this.
yeah.
So, is Sexy and Sensual in London gonna be ever rebooted again?
Could be. Could I look. Some people have been asking me lately, can we reboot it? And I'm open to that discussion. I think the reason why it ended was because I moved to Australia. That's
Right.
obviously the first one.
Right.
The
Right.
second one was that we had issues with that venue.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And the second venue that we got wasn't quite up to the same standard because that venue was
I know
beautiful.
that. I know both of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that
I like
venue was
I like
actually,
the first venue, the Park Inn
yeah,
hotel. The ballroom is perfect and the location is perfect. Um,
yeah, and it was
Particularly
great
the
because
ballroom. Yeah.
yeah, because it was an extension of the hotel, so it didn't affect the hotel guests.
Correct.
But we ended up having an issue with the new general manager comes in and he starts creating
Yeah. They do
this,
that.
yeah,
The reason I say I'm selfish because that was one of my favorite festival. Number one,
yeah,
I can dance to several rooms. There's Kizomba also there, and you can dance
yeah.
until 6 a.m. Man, I love that festival, dude. It was one of the best
Yeah, those
festivals.
those days, hey, those sometimes like I know, I guess people always look back in the old days and think the old days were good, and probably wasn't. But I admit, that event was great,
Yeah,
and the
because
energy in that event.
where do you see the majority of festival in Europe where you're in one place and one hotel?
Yeah,
Most of them do it in a studio or in a club, and then you travel to another place to the workshop. Come on, man!
yeah,
I never liked that format in Europe. No disrespect
no,
to them, but I know how
no,
hardcore hotels are there. I know that. Now the other one,
yeah,
Tony. even though I've never been, but I heard a lot of good things about it. It was your Italian festival.
Yeah. Oh man, that again. Because one thing that I look for in festivals is venue. Like, is the venue? Can we hold everything?
Yeah,
We've been talking together about this.
yeah, yeah,
So one thing that, like, even in Sydney, we have a great venue. You just come out of the airport, bam. You're
yeah,
at the hotel, bam. The
yeah,
ballroom's there, boom. The pool is there. We got everything there. And people come and they're there. They have a great time. They don't have to travel so much once they get off the plane
yeah,
and muck around going into catching buses or train and all that.
yeah.
It's like bam, it's there. Vegas, quite similar. We're going to do it in a nice hotel.
Yeah.
Bam, everything's there.
It's all right there,
Italy,
and it's Las
Italy,
Vegas,
Italy was the most beautiful resort,
from what I
and
heard. Yes.
it was so close to too much. Yeah, so close to so much touristic stuff. I used to hire out a coach, would take people in the daytime to go and see somewhere. It was fantastic. And again, the only reason why that ended was because I moved to Australia.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really
You know,
hard to.
the reason I tell you this, Tony, because I want to go to Italy again. I went to Rome, and the very first time I went to Rome, Tony, that food, that pasta, I can never find it in United States, dude. I cannot find that same taste in United States.
No.
So I want to go
This is
back
why
there. I
the
don't care what
argument.
part of
This is why
Italy.
the arguments of, is pizza in Italy and pizza in America the same? Like, is pasta the same? Obviously not. There's just
Yeah,
different
it
influences,
tastes different.
and yeah, I mean, but to be fair, like the structures are the same. It's just the taste
Oh
is
yeah,
slightly different.
yeah,
So, dancing has that same thing, But I mean, with bachata, like we said, the structures are different, and a lot of people say, should you call it bachata? And if I guess we probably could call it something else, but that's just not going to happen anymore. Like, imagine trying now to change everything. And what would
well,
happen to bachata? Like, would people still want to, would the Dominican bachata suddenly disappear a bit more because people now no longer associate themselves with it?
the
That's
argument
what my
is,
fear is. If you take away the name bachata, so
well,
let's just say you don't call it Bachata Central anymore. We call it Bachata Central, and we disengage from it being anything to do with Dominican stuff.
yeah,
Will the Dominican all of a sudden, because people that come in, they start learning maybe the modern or Bachata Central, but then they get influenced and they say, oh, there's a history to it. And then they start looking up Dominican stuff. And now
yeah,
there's lots of classes and trips to the Dominican Republic. So there's a lot of stuff happening.
yeah.
Will they still want to do that? And I think that what people don't realize is that there's a danger that no longer will happen, that this will go one way,
Yeah.
start its own
Not
trend, and
anymore.
that won't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My followers and my friends on social media know where I stand when it comes to that and know what I prefer. Of course, I prefer Dominican style. Of course, I prefer traditional style. Of course, I prefer that music. But
Yeah.
don't get me wrong in here when there are other adjectives of bachata now. Because don't get me wrong, because sometimes, well, first of all, bachata was not called bachata first. It was música de amargue when it comes to the music, and even the dance. They didn't call it bachata then, and it evolved. Okay, and they
Do you know
call
what
it
they called
bachata.
it back then? I've always wondered what they called it when Música de Amaga existed.
It's just they call it música de amargue because there was no name for it, and it was just a sad song, just like a
But
country song in
what was
United
the
States.
dance called? Did they have anything for the dancing? Because
Bolero,
no one's ever.
bolero.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
good. All right, fair
yeah.
enough.
So when they say traditional, it's very much influenced by bolero. But now when they say Dominican style, it's very much influenced by a lot of footwork, and
Yeah.
that's not in any way traditional form whatsoever. And I could debate any one of that. Now they just happen to call that dance bachata now, but then it evolved. We are now in 2022, where there are so many influences of the dance bachata,
Mm,
depending where they come from. Some
that's
come
right.
from ballroom, some come from salsa, some come from vallenato, Colombia, whatever you want to call it, and some from Europe. Of course, there's always going to be influence there. And if you see Dominican style now, Tony, you would see some fused movements there, not coming
I've
from the
seen it.
Dominican
I've
Republic.
seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I was
Yeah.
like, huh? That's not a Dominican style that I remember.
But that doesn't
in
mean you can't call it bachata anymore, right?
No, of course not. And they will call it an evolution now, won't they? Because they're going to say, well, we've evolved from our roots, and now we're being. They won't call it a fusion; they still call it evolution. I mean,
Well,
like when people want to argue about this all day long, it's great to have some debates and talk about for
for
the
fun,
long goal.
for
Yeah, for
for
fun.
education, yeah, sure.
That's right. But when there's all this people just trying to hate on people for it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
when it comes to me, like I said, I had to put up with a lot of nonsense in the early 2000s, which none of these guys would have dealt with. They would have gone home. Very few people would have gone down that track.
Yeah.
That's why very few people did. It was only really a few of us pioneering people that actually did, because most of them, a lot of teachers at that time, stuck with salsa. I can name you big name bachata dancers now who were really wanting to be salsa dancers, but their opportunity came from bachata. So now
I know them as well.
they're
Yeah,
so
I
there's
know
a
them.
lot of, and there's a few of them, and I saw them. They were
Desiree was a good salsa dancer.
yeah,
Ataka Limana were there also
yeah,
in the salsa scene. There were like Alex and Desiree were in Caribbean Soul, which was a salsa team.
yeah.
So
That's the
yeah,
thing, yeah.
yeah,
But they were all a lot of them were salsa dancers, and they converted to bachata as bachata started having a movement. But very few of them would have just said, right, there's no bachata. Because when I started, there was no bachata. Let's just
yeah,
say there was bachata that existed, but it was you went anywhere in the world, no one was really playing bachata. The Italians would play one or two every now and then. Um, in England, nothing. In Europe, the only place I saw it was in Spain. They would play it, and not many people were dancing. In Holland, they played it, and very few people danced.
yeah,
So
yeah.
there was literally there was nothing there. So, and I don't even know why I decided to do it. I wasn't even thinking straight. I think my friend from the UK said, "I like what you're doing," and I was like, "Okay." And then, actually, to be fair, at that time, I didn't set out to do that. But when I came to the UK and everyone took my class and people came, they were like, we really enjoyed that. We really love to learn more. And then I started getting people, all of a sudden, people were taking my email. I went home, didn't think nothing about it. One festival, another organizer, another, like, I was like, oh, wow, this is unbelievable. And then, I just kept snowballing from there.
There
So I
were
just carried.
there were only three people that was selling a lot of DVDs during that time. You, Elizondo, and me. That was
Yeah.
it.
Those were great days, the DVD days. Why did YouTube have to be exist and kill artists?
Now that doesn't exist anymore, dude.
I still got some, and I can't sell them for anything now.
Yeah, I still got some too. I got merengue also, man. A lot of people there is like, oh, all of these people talk first merengue. Come on, just look at my DVD, man. But
Exactly.
anyway,
I mean, I always say this, Rodney, right? I
yeah,
always say, like, some people are born into bachata, right? So it's in their blood. Their family
right,
all did it. I
right.
was born with bolero. My mum loved bolero, especially Julio Iglesias.
Yeah, yeah.
He was the king of bolero, right? Julio Iglesias.
We're
Do
the
you know
same.
Julio
I was
Iglesias?
born with mambo and cha 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 and all of that because my parents always dance it. So I was born into Perez Prado type of
Yeah,
music already during that time.
that's right.
Yeah, yeah,
So when bachata came, when bachata, I got kind of called. Like, for me, I feel like that was just a calling, some
yeah,
sort of a religious
yeah,
dance calling. I got called bachata to come and teach bachata. I was like, what the hell? And then I had to rethink everything to make this happen. And like I
yeah.
said, there was nothing at that time. Bachata was literally. I would go to places. The DJs would be playing salsa. I would offer them a CD. Hey, I've taught bachata today. Here, there's people that learned it. Can
Yeah,
you play one or two of these songs? And they will be happy that I gave them, like, what was the
yeah.
Aventura, the Toca de Quedas, the Toby Love, Prince Royce. Like, they didn't even have a clue about half of
So
this
we
stuff.
loved at
I was
that time
giving
even
them.
Dominic Marte and
I mean, yeah, tons.
yeah,
Santa Cruz.
yeah, yeah.
there was tons. I mean, I'm just naming a few off the top of my
Yeah.
head. Monchi and Alexander.
Monchi and Alexandra, of course.
I still
Even
love their music.
Zacharias Pereira at that time already. By that
Yeah,
time.
just Zach Zachariah. Great up had the DJs, didn't I? I was giving free CDs. I was
Yeah.
burning CDs, giving it
Yeah.
to them. Hey guys, I've been teaching. Can you play? They would play it. The dance floor would empty. I would encourage students to jump on
Right.
there. I
Right.
emptied out so many congresses. The funniest one was in Spain. I literally killed dance floor on the forum. This was called Salsora, right? On their forum.
I remember
Hey,
that
Tony,
event.
DJ, hey TJ Tony.
Yeah.
And I came on there to talk to people and they
Yeah.
were just spitting at me, right? And I was like, talking to them. I was like, look, guys, I only played one bachata every half an hour. It's not the end of the world. And there were people who did my classes. So at least blah, 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 fuck you. Swearing at me. But the organizer, to give the organizer some credit, they, instead of saying, look, Tony, look how much hate you got. We're not interested in this, blah, blah, blah. They brought me back the next year. They said, you know what, Tony, you are not like other artists who just shied away, didn't come and try and have a conversation with people.
Yeah.
You came onto the forum, you've conversed with people, this, that, the other. You've shown courage and you're not a coward. And they said, we're going to bring you back, right? And we're going to make sure we
Right.
pump it and we're going to educate, we're going to get people to actually understand where you're coming from. And they did that. And to be fair to them, the next year I came back and we did like a big thing on the stage, and people did a flip around. They, instead of having just me teaching one bachata class there, we had like a whole series of bachata classes, and they put a bachata room on the side, a small one, but it was there. So, you know, they did a really nice, because a lot of people would have gone, hey, you know, people hate you.
Yeah.
We're not having you back,
Yeah.
you know. But it was, like I said, I did go on the forums and they were surprised I even went. I was just getting, every day I would look at a forum, bang, 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 and then I would answer calmly. And then the next day, bang, 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 bang. So I didn't hide or shy away. It's like this new argument. The reason why I came up with that post about evolution and creation was because, you know, people just want to argue and try and bring you down and make you feel like, you know, you don't deserve a place. So
Yeah.
I think, you know, at the end of the day, when the best way to beat people is with some facts and some knowledge.
Yeah.
It might help change them, but it might hopefully you influence other people that are not listening to just this one-sided, closed-minded type of behavior, you know. So we can only keep doing our best. And me and yourself, I classify myself as an educator. You know, I'm not here
I
just
agree.
teaching you a movement. I try to educate people to move more naturally, and maybe I'm very confronting. I'm not just gonna let you trash me.
I got you with that. I classify myself as a social dancer. And to me, a social dancer is able to dance everything. When someone asks you to dance on a certain music that you don't know, that you failed right there. If when you go to that event, it's like, good, would you like dance on two and me? It's like, I don't know, I don't dance on two. Would you like to dance? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't dance that music. That is a failure as a social dancer for me. So for me, I need to be multidimensional as a dancer,
Yeah,
as a social dancer. Uh,
yeah.
I'm a social dancer first before teaching. Let me ask you this fast talk type of questions, Tony. What have you
Okay.
learned in your 25 plus years as a teacher?
Lots of stuff. I guess the first thing I've learned is actually what should you be aiming for as a teacher. So if you're, I just find there's a lot of teachers that just like the glory side of this industry where people glorify you, but the real part of teaching is actually can you influence someone to understand where they can improve on, because dancing is really taking people back to a natural movement.
Yeah.
And if people don't naturally move, I always tell my students things like, you know, you're walking on flat ground, you're sitting on square chairs, your body no longer is learning to adapt to different environments
Yeah.
because we change it. So if you go and walk on rocky floors or have to sit on the floor and you have to correct your postures and this and that, that's where your body starts to activate itself. But once
Yeah.
you take away your body's natural way of activating itself, it's no longer going to respond that same
Yeah.
way. So as what dancing is a great tool to help people find that, so that they can be more balanced, stable, grounded, and also
Yeah.
lifted in their body. So these are the different energies that we're experiencing. And also, I think also, like, I like to help people understand, like, you got, when you first go into dancing, your tension is going to be all in your shoulders because you're tensing up. You're worried and you're tensing. You need to not you can't say to someone relax, because
Yeah.
no one ever can relax when you're in a state of activity. There's no such thing as relaxation.
True.
What you
True.
teach people is transference of tension. So rather having tension on your shoulders
Yeah.
unnecessarily, teach them how to transfer it to their legs so that they have more stability. Because most new dancers are like drunkards, aren't they? They tense up here, loose at the legs, and they're like, they
Right.
can't, they're unstable. So the re-education on how to transfer the tension around their body is a great thing for instructors to understand, rather than throwing away words like just relax or work on more fundamentals. Don't, rather than saying that, explain what people can be working on and how they can develop that. The other thing I think it's been great as a teacher is also and I guess, yeah, this is also on a teacher level, is understanding how we collaborate with each other, whether you're an advanced dancer to a complete beginner. Like,
I like that. Yeah.
I think one thing that helps create societies is collaboration.
Agree.
And same thing with bachata. When we started bachata, me, you, Juan, Nestor, Frank, Iñaki, Hoy, Lizondo, we, even though we did have our own little disagreements and stuff, one thing that was very clear was that there was more of a collaboration happening.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then when we got Corky on board and some of the other Spanish artists on board, we were all collaborating together. There
Yeah.
wasn't us, you, or anything. We were helping each other grow each other's events. There did come a point where people started wanting to be controlling, saying, "No, we're going to do it this way.
Yeah.
We're not interested in it." And that's another route. But I just think that the best times that I had, especially, was when we were all collaborating.
Yeah.
And we had, I mean, we had discussions. We had our disagreements.
We had our disagreements. Yep.
Me and
Yep.
Elizondo had a fun disagreement once. But we learned from that. We moved on. Where
Yeah.
now that when you have a disagreement with someone, they just hold it and actually make it more of a disagreement.
Right.
It becomes unnecessary. So
Right.
that collaboration aspect starts to disappear. So those are two aspects, like really learning about your natural movements and stuff, and collaborating, and also supporting other teachers, like helping other teachers get to a good part in their life. We've been lucky that we've traveled around the world, so giving that same opportunity to other people to go and do it, because
You and
I
I,
can't.
you and I have done that. Even in Lazanda, we give opportunity even to rookie teachers that we think has great potential and are great. And look
Yeah.
at them now. Look at them now. They have a name for themselves. And in with humility, we give a little credit to ourselves because we're the one who saw them first, and we give them opportunity. As a organizer, Tony, if there's a rookie promoter right there that wants to do a festival, what's your advice, number one advice to this person?
Well, I think it's always for me. I've always ran festivals that didn't really create a problem for any other existing festival.
Agree
Look,
with
there's
that.
two
Yeah.
paths. There's two paths you can take. You can say, "I don't care. I'm going to do my thing. If they survive, they survive. If they don't, they don't." But when there's a festival that's been doing well, you have to try and minimize damage to them. Just putting an event on because you think you should do an event doesn't work that way. And events, as me and you both know, are not easy to
Oh yeah.
one, they're not easy to manage.
Mm,
Two, they're not always easy to make money from.
yeah.
And three, if there's too much going on, everyone suffers. So I know everyone wants to do an event and they think, oh, let's do an event. That must be it's a go.
Yeah.
But I would, it's happened to me where organizers have put an event on 1 week before mine, or 1 week after, or but in a very short period. And I'm always thinking, that's probably not a great idea for them to do it. And it
No.
hasn't been, because very few of them have survived. The ones that you see survive are the ones that were very smart in how they planned it. They
Yeah.
planned it where it didn't really clash with anyone else. They planned it where they grew over time, and developed a good service. They've obviously got the background sorted out, the ticketing, from the
Yeah.
marketing to people collecting their tickets, and the people all helping them, and the schools supporting them. So always, the events aren't easy to run, and just because you put up a big lineup of 1 million top famous instructors doesn't mean your event's going to survive over time, because
Yeah.
that's an expensive that's an expensive situation. But there are people that have done it that way. They've done the Albert Torres, 1 million instructors. They've gotten a great location. It has damaged someone else's event, but it depends on. I guess there are Look, nothing's 100% the perfect way to go, but for some of these rookie guys, maybe think smaller. Think of not trying to damage other people's events straight away. See if their event's got, if someone's been doing an event for 5 years and they do really well, and it takes a lot of work for them to run their event, maybe don't go right underneath them and try and take their legs from underneath them,
Right.
but have
Right.
some respect that these people also had to put the time and energy in to get to where they are. But,
Agreed.
it's, we can only give advice, can't
That's
force
true.
that on people.
Now,
At the moment, there is a big movement for hundreds of events happening.
oh yeah, yeah,
At the end of the day, though, Rodney, the people who are going to choose are the customers. So,
agreed, agreed. Now you lately became a citizen of Australia. Now, before I
yes.
ask you why Australia, I know you lived in Spain. I think you were born in United Kingdom. Why
No,
Australia?
you're completely wrong, Rodney.
Oh, okay, give
I'm
me.
born in Spain,
Okay,
lived in the United Kingdom.
I got it reversed.
Yeah. And I lived in
Why
Italy.
Australia, dude?
Right. So I used to travel to Australia since 2006.
Yeah,
Jamie Jesus, he was the organizers of the large
that was a
South
good,
Sydney Salsa
large
Congress.
salsa congress at that time. Yes.
Yeah, amazing Congress,
Yeah.
one of my favorite of all time. And he saw me in London, and we spoke, and he said, "Dude, come to Australia. They're gonna love Bachata there."
Yeah.
At the moment, it's not. There was one, and Nesta doing some things with Bachata here, but it wasn't obviously a
Right.
big phenomenon here in Australia still. So I came to Australia, and then after that Congress, I picked up contacts, and people wanted me to come to their city. So I organized a tour. I can't remember how many months after, and I came for a couple of months, traveled to the cities, and I was doing boot camps and
Yeah.
having a great time. And then Jamie invited me back to the festival, and then I just kept coming back. And Australia was just a country which I really enjoyed coming to. So
Yeah.
it's an amazing country. It's got great facilities. The weather's great. The people are really nice here. Um, and so then, obviously, my one of the major reasons was because I met someone,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so and then we decided that I'll move here rather than she moves to Europe, and that's how I ended up staying here.
Yeah. Was it hard to become a Australian citizen?
It's not the easiest and cheapest process. It's a bit of
Oh,
a process. Lots of, yeah, it costs quite a bit of money as well, like
I bet.
$15,000. So
Yeah.
20,
Yeah.
probably more like $20,000 by the end of it. Yeah, and there's a process. So they give you different type of visas, and then depending on how long you've been here, will they allow you to become a citizen? Yeah, not everyone can do it. It's very hard. Not easy.
Not easy. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's our session. I think it's over in an hour, but we talked about a lot of things that
No problem,
are
Rodney.
trending in social media, as you know. You know where to find Tony Lara. It's Tony Bachata Lara in his Facebook and his Instagram account. And of course, you'll see more of him in our podcast as we talk more about the details of Jack and Jill, because I think that's gonna go off. And of course, Las Vegas is always a special place in his heart. And we're going to make it good because of the venue that we have. It's always going to be in the center of the strip of Las Vegas because for me, as after the pandemic, I made a decision to every time I organize a festival now, it's going to be centralized. Like, for example, with the one I organized in Hawaii, it's on the Waikiki Beach Strip. The San Francisco one, it's back in downtown San Francisco. And of course, Las Vegas, it's where the action is on the strip. That's what I decided now so that we can invite tourists, so that we can invite people from all over the world that wants to go to that certain city. And so that's what I'm doing now. Anyway, Tony, thank you for the podcast, bro. I know I've been trying to invite you for a while, man.
It's always tough because of our time, but thank you for having me, Rodney. And after my next festival, which is in 2 weeks in Sydney,
Sydney, yeah.
Vegas is the next focus.
What's the
and we're gonna
name
be-
of the Sydney one?
It's called Bailando Sensual
Bailando.
Festival. This
What's
one
the website?
is www.bailando.com.au for Australia.
There you go. Yeah.
But we can put the links on there. But yeah, straight when we finish that, it's going to be 100% going for Vegas, and we're looking forward to that one.
Sounds good,
And
brother.
Aussies are coming.
Yeah.
USA Aussies are coming. So
Aussies
and
are
Singapore
coming.
people are coming. We'll hopefully have some Aussies
Yeah.
and Singapore people coming.
Yeah. All right, brother. I will see you later, man. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Rodney.
All righty.
Respect.